أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. We seek the protection of God from Shaitan, who has been expelled from God's kingdom of special grace and mercy. If we avoid the satanic habit of arrogance, whatever we know to be true by the guidance of the God-given intellect, the divine revelation, the human conscience, we don't commit. We submit to that truth, and we don't commit the sin of arrogance to accept the truth. And if we avoid the satanic habit of defiance, whatever we know to be evil, to be wrong, to be false, by the God-given intellect, by the divine revelation, by the human conscience, we don't commit that sin. And if we have reliance on God, we take protection of God, definitely we'll get the strength to be able to identify what is satanic and what is divine. And we'll get the strength to be able to resist and to overcome that evil temptation. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. We humbly seek grace and guidance from God because He is the all-perfect being, Allah. And therefore, anybody who hopes to achieve any goodness or perfection necessarily will flow from Him and Him alone. And we seek His grace and guidance because He is Rahman. His Rahmah, His mercy, His love reaches out to each and every entity in creation, brings it to life, sustains it, and enables it to reach its goal of creation. And we seek the grace and guidance from God because He is Rahim. His extra, overflowing, unlimited grace and mercy is available here in the dunya as a reward, as a support for the good doers, for the believers, and also in the akhirah as bounties which are diverse, which are everlasting, which are profound, which are unimaginable. Alhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalam ala sayyidina wa nabiyyina Muhammad wa And we send our salutations and greetings on the Holy Prophet, on his holy progeny, who are the chosen servants and the representatives of God. Compared to all of mankind, the Holy Prophet was closest to God because he understood who God is, how does He operate, what are His attributes, and he submitted to God, and he loved God more than anything else. And also our salutations on his holy progeny were the next best in mankind after him. Respected elders, brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. As we assemble to commemorate the event of Karbala, it's important to remind ourselves about the significance of this commemoration. One of the famous companions of Imam Baqir and Imam Sadiq alayhi salam, Muhammad bin Muslim Tahan al-Thaqafi, he reports from the fifth Imam that كان علي بن الحسين يقول, Imam Zainul Abidin would often say this: أيما مؤمن دمعت عيناه لقتل الحسين حتى تسيل على خديه. Whichever mu'min cries for the murder of Imam Hussein alayhi salam, and the tears flow on his cheeks. So it's not just a small amount of tears, but enough tears for it to flow on the cheek. بَوَّأَهُ اللَّهُ بِهَا فِي الْجَنَّةِ غُرَفًا يَسْكُنُهَا أَحْقَابًا. As a result, Allah will reward him with a specific rank in Jannah where he will remain for everlasting, eternal period. The second statement of the Imam alayhi salam is not only for the killing of Imam Hussein alayhi salam, but even if somebody cries for the suffering that we underwent, not only of Imam Hussein alayhi salam, but the other members of the Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam, so also will be rewarded similarly. And then the third statement is وَأَيُّمَا مُؤْمِنٍ مَسَّهُ أَذًى فِينَا. Whichever mu'min also undergoes suffering because of his love for the Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam. This is not crying for the Ahlul Bayt. This is suffering as a result of love for the Ahlul Bayt. فَدَمَعَتْ عَيْنَاهُ حتى تسيل على خده من مضاضة ما أوذي فينا. And then he cries because of this suffering. صرف الله عن وجهه الأذى. Allah will remove suffering from him on the day of judgment, and everybody else will be suffering. So you notice the transformative, powerful effect of grieving, mourning, weeping, crying in such a way that it makes us heavenly, godly people here on earth. And the protective effect that it removes evil from our life, as a result of which we will not suffer afflictions on the day of judgment. So these tears are important in their profound effect that we can have on our faith, on our character, on our behavior, inshallah. Today, the fourth day of Muharram, history says that in Kufa, Ibn Ziyad summoned everyone, able-bodied people, to come to the central mosque, Masjid Jami'. And he gave a threatening khutbah to instigate people against Imam Hussein alayhi salam. And as a result, some 13,000 people became ready to form an army to go to Karbala against Imam Hussein alayhi salam. And they went in groups. Shimr bin Dhil Jawshan at the head of 4,000. Yazid bin Rikab Kalbi, 2,000. Hassin bin Namir, 4,000. Mudayir bin Rahina Mazini, 3,000. And this is just the beginning, 13,000. And every day the numbers build up and they go to Karbala from Kufa. And when they started arriving in Karbala, Imam Hussein alayhi salam makes one comment when he sees this. How do you explain that just in the month of Sha'ban and Ramadan, when he was stationed in Mecca, he started receiving the same numbers of people, 18,000, 20,000, 25,000 letters coming from the people in Kufa asking him to come to Kufa. And now they have come to fight with him in Karbala. So he says, "An-nasu abidu dunya." The problem we are seeing here with this huge army confronting us is people are slaves to the dunya. فَإِذَا مُحِّصُوا بِالْبَلَاءِ وَالدِّينُ لَعِقْ بِأَلْسِنَتِهِمْ. Religion, faith, belief in God, belief in the Prophet, practicing the faith is just superficial. So long as the dunya is safe, the deen is practiced. When there is a clash of interest between practicing the deen and losing the deen loses, the dunya wins. فَإِذَا مُحِّصُوا بِالْبَلَاءِ قَلَّ الدَّيَّانُونَ. This is in one statement the core reason why the people were convinced to come to Kufa, from Kufa to Karbala. In the Quran we've been warned. In Surah Tawbah, which is revealed towards the end of the Prophet's life, Suddenly the numbers of Muslims are increasing. In Badr there were 313. In Uhud 1,000 minus 300, 700. In Ahzab it reached 7,000 soldiers on the side of the Prophet. By the time of Fath al-Makkah 8,000. By the time of Hajjat al-Wida more than 100,000. The number of Muslims had increased, but did the quality of Muslims also improve or no? Surah Tawbah discusses the problems that Muslims were already showing in listening to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Therefore, in ayah number 24 of Surah Tawbah, Allah warns, "Qul, O Prophet, warn them, إن كان آباؤكم وأبناؤكم وإخوانكم وأزواجكم وعشيرتكم." Tell these Muslims who are reluctant, hesitant, unwilling to come in this military expedition that you wish to undertake to go to Tabuk, right to the north of the border of Hijaz with the other empires, if they're unwilling to come because there's something holding them back, then warn them. If it is because of your parents or your children or your brethren or your spouses or your tribesmen, it's because of your connections in the community that you don't want to break and leave behind and come out all alone, that is keeping you back. وَأَمْوَالٌ اِقْتَرَفْتُمُوهَا, and the wealth that you have amassed and accumulated, so you're afraid of leaving it behind. Perhaps you go there and die and don't come back. وَتِجَارَةٌ تَخْشَوْنَ كَسَادَهَا, or no, it's not the accumulation of the wealth, it's the current profits that you want to earn, that you fear you will lose by going out on this expedition. وَمَسَاكِنُ تَرْضَوْنَهَا, and these beautiful mansions that you have built, the comfort that you enjoy, you are unwilling to give it up for the sake of this expedition. أَحَبَّ إِلَيْكُم مِّنَ اللَّهِ وَرَسُولِهِ, these things are more beloved to you than the pleasure of God, than the pleasure of following the messenger of God. وَجِهَادٍ فِي سَبِيلِهِ, and to struggle in the way of God, to defend the cause of God and the godly values. فَتَرَبَّصُوا, then you better wait. You are going to suffer. What you're doing is wrong and evil. This is short-term gain versus giving up long-term success that you will get if you give up these material attachments. فَتَرَبَّصُوا حَتَّى يَأْتِيَ اللَّهُ بِأَمْرِهِ, God will surely send His punishment. His decision and His decree shall come to pass over you. وَاللَّهُ لَا يَهْدِي الْقَوْمَ الْفَاسِقِينَ, and Allah will not guide to success those people who are fasiq, those who are transgressors, those who are sinful, those who know what's right and wrong yet do the wrong. Who is there who doubts that what God commands and what the Holy Prophet orders has to be obeyed because it is for our good? Yet they listen to the command and not obey because of these attachments. The underlying problem is, oh, I'm attached to my father and my children and my brethren and my community. Father, that father is a biological father. This prophet is your spiritual father. Oh, it's the wealth that I have and I can't abandon it. But the wealth comes from God. Quran keeps on mentioning, يَبْسُطُ الرِّزْقَ لِمَنْ يَشَاءُ وَيَقْدِرُ. He's the one who opens up and gives more risk to some. He's the one who constricts and gives less risk to others. How many are there smart people, hardworking, yet they don't earn as much? Yet there are others who are lesser smart, lesser hardworking, and they earn more. Well, there are other factors operating. There are higher factors operating and determining who gets how much and when and where and how. Allahu yabsutu rizqa liman yasha'u wa yaqdir. If you believe rizq is by Allah's will, if you believe Allah is khayrul raziqeen, as mentioned in Surah Jamaat, If you believe Allah is Razzaq, Dhul Quwwat al-Mateen, as mentioned in Surah Al-Adiyat. If you believe Allah yarzuqu man yasha' bighayri hisab, as mentioned in Surah Al-Imran. Well, there's no reason for now to get attached to the little wealth that Allah has already granted you, and because of that, not obey God's command. Or, masakina tardawnaha, these little dwellings that you have constructed that become means of attachment and restraining you from obeying God's command. Shelter, refuge, comfort, all these are means. Allah is the absolute provider. One of the names that appears in of God, that appears in Dua Jawsh al-Kabir, is Allah is Jar al-Mustajireen, or the one who is the ultimate refuge and shelter for those who seek shelter when they've lost everything else. So it seems there was excessive attachment to material possessions, which was preventing them from responding to God's call. And incidentally, this is not only in the 9th year of Hijrah that Surah Tawbah reports. It's throughout human history, right from the beginning till our times. This problem is the same. Whenever there's a conflict between godly values and personal material comforts, those whose faith is not strong, they fail. As one historian remarks, throughout human history, we have a long, terrible story of man who tries to find something other than God. Money or ambition or war or class, social class or power or empire. All of these things they seek instead of God to make him happy. But they are just temporary sources of happiness. And over time they fail to provide true, lasting, profound, comprehensive happiness. So, to be attached to relatives and parents and children and friends and community, to earn wealth and to keep wealth and to have savings, this is natural. It's Allah's God-given desire to man. The problem is when we get excessively attached to these material possessions. That's where the problem is. The problem is when we think that our true honor and status, our true happiness is through accumulation. The problem is when we feel that we will be more happy if we get more. We will be happier if we get the newest model, the latest model. That's where the problem is. The advertisements, they always bombard at us that you are missing out something if you don't buy this particular product. There's one psychologist who makes an interesting observation. There's too many people, they spend money which they haven't earned. Oh, it's all available on credit. Too many people spend money they haven't earned to buy things they don't want or they don't need. To impress people who don't even care. The advertisements work wonderfully to fill others' pockets and empty our souls. Or as somebody commented that money can't buy happiness, but it can make you comfortable when you're miserable. Yes, you're physically seeking comfort, though you're spiritually miserable. It will not give you that comfort, unfortunately. This is a misleading, deceptive attitude towards money. And therefore there's this beautiful poetry, anonymous. They say what money can buy and what money can't buy. The reason I'm reminding ourselves of this reality is, this is why Kufa, unfortunately, abandoned Imam Hussein and came to Karbala. Money can buy medicine, but money can't buy health. The poet says, money can buy you a house, but it can't buy you a home. Money can buy companionship, but not friendship. Money can buy entertainment, but not happiness. Money can buy you the food, but not the appetite. Money can buy you the bed, but not the sleep. Allow me to say, the point ends here. Money can give you the facility to enable us to come and assemble here for Azadari. But it can't give us the salvation. There's something else we need to do to get that salvation through Azab. In the Quran, in Surah Taha, ayah number 124, Allah warns, if you seek your happiness and contentment through these material, temporary, fleeting, ephemeral, earthly possessions, then you're in for disappointment. وَمَنْ أَعْرَضَ عَنْ ذِكْرِي فَإِنَّ لَهُ مَعِيشَةً ضَنْكًا. One of the historians comments that man surprises me about his understanding of his humanity. He surprises me because he will work very hard and sacrifice his health so that he can make money. And then once he has made money, he's sick now. So now he's going to use his money to get back the health that he lost. And then he's so anxious about his future that he can't even enjoy his present. And the result is that he does not live neither in the present nor in the future. In fact, though he tries to live as if he's never going to die, he forgets there is akhirah. Though he lives as if he's never going to die, but then when he dies, having never really ever lived well. And that's what the ayah say. وَمَنْ أَعْرَضَ عَنْ ذِكْرِي فَإِنَّ لَهُ مَعِيشَةً ضَنْكًا. There was a famous European Swiss psychiatrist who was a student or a colleague of Freud, Sigmund Freud, the father of psychoanalysis. Carl Gustav Jung was a bit different in his views compared to Freud. Carl didn't believe in the importance of religious faith. So he says, I've frequently seen people become neurotic when they content themselves with wrong answers or with inadequate answers to the basic questions of life. So you'll find them, they seek position and power and marriage and reputation and outward success of money. They seek all these things, but yet they remain unhappy and they're neurotic. Even when they've attained all these, what they're seeking. The reason is, spiritually they're very narrow in their perspective. Carl Jung says, their life doesn't have sufficient content. It doesn't have sufficient meaning and depth. But however, if they can be enabled to develop into a more spacious, wider horizon and personality, then generally this neurosis disappears. Interesting. Seeking material happiness fails when there is no spiritual depth. And this is exactly what the Quran continues to say in the Surah Taha. Allah says, وَنَحْشُرُهُ يَوْمَ الْقِيَامَةِ أَعْمَى. And these people, we shall resurrect them on the day of judgment, they'll be blind. So these people will complain, how come you have raised me blind? قَالَ رَبِّي لِمَ حَشَرْتَنِي أَعْمَى وَقَدْ كُنْتُ بَصِيرًا. I had vision in the dunya, now you've raised me blind. I had physical, material vision in the dunya. But in the akhirah, you've raised me blind. So So the answer from God will be قَالَ كَذَلِكَ أَتَتْكَ آيَاتُنَا فَنَسِيتَهَا. We sent our signs to you, our teachings, our guidance, our reminders, our admonishments, but you ignored them. You responded as if they're not important. فَنَسِيتَهَا وَكَذَلِكَ الْيَوْمَ تُنْسَى. So today you will be ignored, the way you ignored the truth, because now truth prevails. وَكَذَلِكَ نَجْزِي مَنْ أَسْرَفَ وَلَمْ يُؤْمِنْ بِآيَاتِ رَبِّهِ وَلَعَذَابُ الْآخِرَةِ أَشَدُّ وَأَبْقَى. So it's important for us to correct our attitude towards money. Coincidentally, there's a big debate going on even here in Britain about how come the 1% is accumulating so much wealth at the cost of the 99%. There's a professor in Oxford, he believes that the greed of this 1% is preventing the rest of the 99% from enjoying a decent life. Education is affected, work pay, wealth, health, everything is made worse. And he gives the example of the London housing bubble, which suggests inequality because it threatens to undermine everybody else's wealth and health and security, including that 1%. So he says, why should the extremely rich, these few thousand bankers in London, allowed to be paid a salary at the scale of 50 times or 100 times more than the others? He talks about €1 million or so per year. He says, nowhere else in Europe do we find this. Swiss bankers, France, Netherlands, everywhere else, the gap between the top and the middle is not so wide as it is in this financial capital of the world. So he says, why should the rich, instead of spending money to buy a yacht, a luxurious yacht, why not spend it on the youth? Why does the rich, instead of going for a second and a third home, instead spend it on housing? Why don't the rich, instead of spending it on expensive art, spend it on education for the rest of those who can't afford? And he says, unfortunately, the problem is these people justify these high pays for themselves because they say, well, we're doing something productive, effective, we're bringing richness to the company. So somebody asks him, but you know, the late Steve Jobs, he managed to, through his innovation, he managed to give to the world, to millions, a transformative piece of technology which is helping to improve so many lives. Why would you allow him to earn such huge astronomical amounts? And the professor replies by saying, yeah, but you must ask yourself, did he do it alone or he did it as part of a team? And I would say also, did he and his team also do it in isolation or within the society which has contributed to the structures which he employed and used to produce that particular product? So this issue of inequality, he says, if you study throughout the globe, whichever country, the top 1%, the more they take, the lesser others get. Because the pie is of a limited size. The more one specific percentage takes away a chunk, the remaining get less. So then he was countered, the professor was told, yeah, but what if the pie is getting bigger? So then, even if the top 1% is taking more, still there'll be a little more for the rest. And then look at the surveys indicate people are reporting more and more well-being. And the professor said, no. You find in France and Netherlands, Scandinavian countries, they're more fairer in their distribution of wealth. So there's lesser mental illness. there's more efficient education, there's better housing. The politicians in Europe are more concerned about providing good housing for their voters, he says. And there's lesser anxiety, there's lesser depression. So wealth redistribution, wealth equality is an important factor which is not only for the happiness of that individual, but the happiness of the whole society. So we need to be realistic about our attitude towards life, about money. Where is true happiness? Is it in possession, material possession? Or the greater happiness is using God's gift to serve God's creation? Oh, incidentally, there's an interesting report I came across, this magazine, I just got it from town, Compassionate Business Thinking. They've listed the world's top 100 compassionate business leaders. But these are all millionaires. And they're spending part of their money to help others. Muhammad Yunus is listed number 3 in this. Professor Yunus gives out microcredit loans to the extremely poor, those who don't even earn $1 a day. And he's been successful. Right now he's one of the board directors of the United Nations. David Katz in Canada, interesting, he's got a plastics recycling program. So all the plastic waste that we throw away, the poor, if they collect it, they will be paid above the market value for that. And then this plastics is sent back to the industry for recycling. So you're serving two goals. You're reducing the plastic wastage and you're helping the poor in the process. There's several of them which are about universities and education. Singularity University, University for the People, where they're offering, they contact the experts in different fields and they ask for their intellectual contribution, and then this is made available to the poor for free. Somebody in Saudi Arabia, Khalid Al-Burahi, is offering job opportunities to women. Mo Ibrahim, the Sudanese billionaire, has given a pledge to give out half of his wealth. Bill Gates, of course, has already made that pledge. The eBay founder, Pierre Omidyar, Ted Turner, Mr. Premji, Azim Hashim Premji, one of the top 3 billionaires in India. There's one Afghani billionaire, Khoja, Karim Khoja, he's also pledged to give back. This is only 10 examples I've mentioned. But the principle is this, that one of the ways to reduce our excessive greedy attachment to money is to be able to understand that this is a gift given to us by God. We use it for our own comfort, yes, but more important, we also give out to share with others. One of those people who was in Karbala and who did not get attached to money, and therefore he could save himself, is Habib bin Mudahir al-Asadi, based in Kufa, maybe a companion of the Prophet, but it's not sure, but definitely a companion of Imam Ali alayhi salam. He was there in the battle of Jamal, in the battle of Siffin, and in the battle of Nahrawan with Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam. And he was a member of the elite companions of the Imam alayhi salam. So much that Imam then begins to trust him and then begin to share with him the deeper knowledge and the mysteries and the wisdom which is normally not available to ordinary people. And Habib happens to be one of the first people who wrote that letter of invitation to Imam alayhi salam when he left Medina to go to Makkah. And after Muslim bin Aqil arrives, he's one of the first and foremost actively soliciting bay'ah for Muslim bin Aqil and for Imam alayhi salam. There's an interesting incident mentioned. The Bani Asad say that we witnessed an interesting exchange that took place between Mitham al-Tammar and Habib bin Mabahir. He says that on one occasion, both of them were mounted on a horse and they reached near each other. And the horses were moving back and forth, but there was an exchange going on between them. And Habib says, I can see the future. لكأني بشيخ أصلع ضخم البطن يبيع البطيخ عند دار الرزق قد صلب في حب أهل بيت نبيه عليهم السلام ويبقى بطنه على الخشبة. I can see the future, an old man who will be, who is a seller in the market, who is bald-headed, who is heavily built, and he shall be crucified on the tree because of his love for the Ahlul Bayt, and his abdomen will be slit open. Habib is telling Mitham. Mitham al-Tammar responds by saying, وَإِنِّي لَأَعْرِفُ رَجُلًا أَحْمَرًا. And I know a man who is dark in complexion. لَهُ ضَفِيرَتَانِ, and he has got two hair locks. يخرج لنصرة ابن بنت نبيه ويقتل ويجال برأسه بالكوفة. And I can see that he will leave Kufa to go and support and give help and defend the son of the daughter of the Prophet. And he will be killed and his head will be dragged in the streets of Kufa. No names mentioned. Two exchanges of the future events, and then they move apart. The Bani Asad who are sitting down there, they say that مَا رَأَيْنَا أَحَدًا أَكْذَبْ مِنْ هَذَيْنِ. We never heard fiction greater than what these two stories we heard from these two people. And then a third man arrives by the name of Rushayd al-Hajari, and he asked, where is Mitham and where is Habib? And they were told, and he was told that no, they have just left. And you know, they said some very strange things, and they reported to Rushayd what they say. So Rushayd said, Rahimallahu Mithaman. May Allah bless Mitham. Mitham forgot one little detail in his story. He said, يزاد في عطاء الذي يجيء بالرأس 100 درهم. The person who will carry the head of Habib and bring it to Kufa, he will be paid an extra 100 dirhams for his dastardly evil act. The Ahlul Majlis who were sitting there, they said, oh my gosh, this third one happens to be even a bigger liar than those first two. But the interesting thing is the same people, after some time, after a few years, after the event of Karbala, they see exactly what happened. Mitham was killed just before the event of Karbala. And after that, what happened to Habib, and the head was brought to Kufa. Question. A companion reaches a status in closeness to the Imam, such that he is sharp and alert about the movements of his Imam, Medina to Makkah. Immediately he responds, now is the time which is right to start preparing for the Imam. I'm making a comparison. We're also living and waiting for an Imam. Habib then begins to solicit others. We need to galvanize and mobilize and get ready for the Imam. But this Habib is also a person who is enlightened enough to be able to see the future. The Quran describes some people whose eyes open up, not their physical eyes, their spiritual eyes. They can begin to see things that others cannot see. In Surah Yunus, ayah number 62 onwards, Allah describes such people. Ala inna أولياء الله لا خوف عليهم ولا هم يحزنون. Compared to these people who are enslaved to material possessions, and they're narrow-minded, and they're greedy, and they're selfish, there are those who are the friends of God. They're close to God. They're so close to God, they feel the presence of God everywhere, every time. And therefore, they have no grief and they have no sorrow. لا خوف عليهم. They have no fear and they have no sorrow. They have no fear of the dunya. Because for them, the dunya is not important. The dunya is temporary. The dunya is something that blocks them from reaching closer to God. The dunya, of course, I'm referring to the dunya, which is the haram dunya, whereby a person uses illegal, sinful ways to earn material possessions. And then once he earns them, he hoards them and saves them. He doesn't spend them in the way of God, in the halal way. And then yes, when he does spend, he spends it stingily for the halal causes, but excessively for the haram causes. No, that's the haram dunya. But these people are so close to God, they're happy with the bare minimum that Allah gives them. They don't spend more time engaging in the dunya, unless of course it is their wajib duty to accumulate more, because Allah has given them certain specific talents and abilities whereby they can get more so they can give more. But otherwise they don't waste time for the dunya. So they have no fear. The little they have, if it's taken away from them, وَلَا هُمْ يَحْزَنُونَ, neither do they have any grief or sadness if it is taken away from them. How do they reach this stage? Ayah number 63 says, الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَكَانُوا يَتَّقُونَ. Because their belief is strong and because their taqwa is regular and continuous. In the riwayat of the Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam, we are told a mu'min grows spiritually through 4 stages. You start with the stage of Islam, La ilaha illallah, Muhammad Rasulullah. Stage number 2 is Iman, whereby what you say by your tongue, now you accept by your mind logically. No. Your heart also begins to submit and to surrender to the truth. So you begin to hope and fear and like and dislike and yearn and give or take or feel everything around God's likes and dislikes. That is the stage of the Iman. And then there is Taqwa. Taqwa meaning now you are constantly God-fearing, God-revering. And then finally you reach a stage of Yaqeen. And the Imams of the Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam, they tell us there's nothing more rare than Yaqeen. The least distributed ni'mah from God to the hearts of mankind is Yaqeen. It's those few people who have yaqeen, their spiritual eyes open up. They begin to see what others cannot see. So there is a beautiful hadith. The Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam comes in the morning for prayers in the masjid, and he sees a young man by the name of Haritha bin Malik bin Nu'man al-Ansari. And the Prophet asks him, كَيْفَ أَنْتَ يَا حَارِثَةَ? How do you do this morning? So Haritha says, Ya Rasulullah, مُؤْمِنٌ حَقًّا. I have found myself today morning that I have reached the true highest level of Iman. So the Prophet says, لِكُلِّ شَيْءٍ حَقِيقَةٍ. Every claim has a truth and proof for it. What's the proof of your claim that you have reached the highest level of Iman? And the man says, Ya Rasulullah, عَزَفَتْ نَفْسِي عَنِ الدُّنْيَا. I find my heart is not attached and attracted to the dunya. There are people who, when they get exposed to evil, they get attached, they get attracted, they get tempted. When you offer them the opportunity to do good, they're hesitant, they're unwilling, they're not interested. There's something wrong in this heart. There's no nur in this heart. There's darkness in their heart. It's attracting them to evil and keeping them away from good. This man says, I don't find attraction towards the possessions of the dunya. And I can't sleep at night. During the daytime, I can't eat, I'm fasting. And I can imagine, no, my degree of awareness and realization about the akhirah is I can literally see the hisab and the qiyamah. And I can see all mankind, including myself, in the presence of God. And I can see the Jannah and whatever people are going to enjoy in Jannah. And I can see the Jahannam and people groaning and moaning from the punishments in the Jahannam. The Prophet ﷺ confirms, yes, this is the sign of a true believer, because now you're detached from the dunya and now you're attached to the akhirah. Your highest concern is the akhirah. So the Prophet advises him, ilzam ma anta alay. Hold on fast to what you have attained, because there's always the danger of slipping and missing out what you have attained. And the man says, I have a request from you. I pray to God, أن يرزقني الشهادة معك. Pray to God that I get the opportunity to become shaheed in the way of God. So now here is the aspiration of a person who has reached a point where he recognizes that the best thing he can do now is to give up whatever he has for the sake of God, if necessary, even his life. Pray to God to give me that chance. And the riwayah says, in one of the battles, he became shaheed. So the ayah of the Quran says, these awliyaullah, those who are close to God, nothing separates them from God. Not money, not dunya, not whatever those items mentioned in the ayah 24 of Surah Tawbah. Not community members, not friends, not family, not finances, not fortune accumulated. Nothing keeps them away from God. They're close to God. Such people, لَهُمُ الْبُشْرَى فِي الْحَيَاةِ الدُّنْيَا. Allah the Rahim begins to give them the good news here in the dunya. What is this good news that they get in the dunya? The riwayah in the tafsir of this says, they begin to see dreams which are true. Or no, others begin to see dreams about them. So their eyes are beginning to open up now towards the future. They can begin, this is the beginning of that spiritual blessing whereby they can see their future. وَفِي الْآخِرَةِ. And also in akhirah they get blessings, which is the pardoning of their sins and the paradise. لَا تَبْدِيلَ لِكَلِمَاتِ اللَّهِ. Nobody can change God's word. This is God's promise, it's God's word. He will reward. Who has the power to challenge God, to make him falsify the promise that he has already given us in the Quran through his Prophet ﷺ? Nobody. ذَلِكَ هُوَ الْفَوْزُ الْعَظِيمُ. This is that supreme, mighty achievement that man should aspire for to attain. يَا لَيْتَنِي كُنْتُ مَعَكُمْ فَأَفُوزَ فَوْزًا عَظِيمًا. One of the translations of Fawz Azim, and one of the applications of Fawz Azim is to be able to reach this particular status, which Habib had already attained. And so we find strange behavior from Habib. Yes, he was the first who responds to Imam Hussein. Yes, he's the most active in getting support for Imam Hussein alayhi salam. In Karbala, we are told that once the army of 10, 20,000 begin to appear in Karbala, he tells Imam Hussein alayhi salam, the Bani Asad, Habib bin Mudahir was Asadi. He was from the tribe of Bani Asad. He says, but Bani Asad, they live around this area. Allow me to go and solicit support from them. Imam alayhi salam says, if you can do so, go ahead. So he comes out in the darkness of the night because the army is watching. In the secrecy of the night, he goes to the Bani Asad who are in the surrounding and he addresses them. He says, I'm one of you. And they recognize him. So they welcome him. He says, I've got a very important message for you. He says, إِنِّي أَتَيْتُكُمْ بِخَيْرِ مَا أَتَى بِهِ وَافٍ إِلَىٰ قَوْمٍ. There is no community member who goes back to his community with better news than the one I am bringing to you. And they say, yes, well, what is the news? He says, أَتَيْتُكُمْ أَدْعُوكُمْ إِلَى النَّصْرِ إِبْنِ بِنْتِ نَبِيِّكُمْ. I've come here soliciting your help for the son of the daughter of your prophet. Because now here he is with a small band of true, devoted, loyal followers. الرَّجُلُ مِنْهُمْ خَيْرٌ مِنْ أَلْفِ رَجُلٍ. One man of this band of 72 devoted, loyal followers of Imam Hussein alayhi salam is better than 1,000 other men. Because لَنْ يَخْذُلُوهُ وَلَنْ يُسَلِّمُوهُ أَبَدًا. They will never ever abandon him, they will never ever surrender him to the enemy. They will die first before they will allow Imam Hussein alayhi salam to be hurt. That's the band of followers. وهذا عمر بن سعد. But this Umar ibn Sa'd ibn Abi Waqqas has come with an army and he's trying to surround and strangulate Imam. وَأَنْتُمْ قَوْمِي, you are my people, so I've come to you with this well-wishing proposal. The sharaf of the dunya and the akhirah in this proposal that I'm making to you. And then he promises them, أُقْسِمُ بِاللَّهِ, I swear to God, لَا يُقْتَلْ أَحَدٌ مِّنْكُمْ, none of you would die in the defense of Imam alayhi salam, but that كان رفيقا لمحمد صلى الله عليه وآله في عليين, but that you will be in the company of the Prophet in the highest echelons of paradise. What else do you want? What else can you aspire for? One man from Bani Asad jumped up. He preempted the others. And he said, and his name was Abdullah bin Bishr. And he says, I am the first one who is responding to your invitation. قَدْ عَلِمَ الْقَوْمُ, he started reciting a little poetry. Arabs are eloquent in poetry. قَدْ عَلِمَ الْقَوْمُ إِذَا تَوَاكَلُوا وَأَحْجَمَ الْفُرْسَانُ إِذَا تَثَاقَلُوا أني شجاع بطل مقاتل كأنني ليث عرين باسل. Everybody knows me in my background. I am in a situation where it is threatening and perilous. I am the one who is the bravest and the strongest and the one who is in the forefront. I am the first one who is responding to this invitation. 90 or so people responded. And they began to move with Habib bin Madahir to go towards Imam Hussein alayhi salam's camp. But Bani Asad, remember, has got good people and bad people. Hurmula bin Kahir, the killer of the young Ali Asghar, was an Asad, Bani Asad. So there's one traitor in that darkness of the night, immediately escapes and informs Umar ibn Sa'd. Hussein is soliciting supporters from Bani Asad. Immediately a posse of 400 soldiers is sent to intercept. So before this 90 people can join Imam Hussein alayhi salam, there is a battle that ensues, and these 90 cannot win, and they withdraw, they retreat. Not only do they retreat, the tribe decides we better move away from Karbala because Umar ibn Sa'd is going to chase us tomorrow. He's going to chase each one of us unless we surrender. Bani Asad disappears. Habib bin Madahir returns back to Imam Hussein alayhi salam, reports to him what has happened, and Imam alayhi salam says, La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. Whoever is able to come to our support, that is God's grace. But ultimately we depend on God. Nothing can prevent evil and affliction from us but by God's power. And nothing can bring us support and success but by God's power. La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. Habib bin Madahir is a trusted companion. Elderly person, but trusted, so brave, so experienced. He was in all those battles with Amirul Mu'mineen alayhi salam. And therefore, Imam Hussein alayhi salam puts him in charge of the left flank of the army. But then, later on, when the battle becomes fierce and people start dying and the companions one by one, therefore Habib also as the commander now goes to the battlefield. But the recorded battle cry that we have from Habib tells us the belief and the vision that this man had. أنا حبيب وأبي مظاهر فارس هيجاء وحرب تسعر وأنتم عند العديد أكثر ونحن أعلى حجة وأظهر وأنتم عند الوفاء أغدر ونحن أوفى منكم وأصبر حقا وأنمى منكم وأعذر. If you don't know me, let me introduce myself. I am Habib, the son of Madahir. I am that fierce strong, brave horsemen, when the battle fire is inflamed with full ferocity. You may be bigger in numbers, but we are stronger in our proof, in our belief, in our adherence to what is the truth. And you are betrayers, traitors, liars, renegades who have abandoned the truth. And we are more loyal than you, and we are more determined and resolute than you. And we therefore have the best answer when all of us will meet the Lord and all of us will be present in front of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Habib fights bravely, as is his habit and history. But ultimately the bigger number of the enemies, one man from the tribe of Bani Tamim comes and attacks him. Habib falls to the ground. Hasim bin Numayr comes and strikes him with a deadly blow. Habib, as he is fallen on the ground and hurt and about to die, one of his close companions, Muslim bin Awsaja and Imam Hussein alayhi salam, they come to him. Habib tells Muslim, Azza wallahi alayya masra'uk, abshir bil jannah. Muslim bin Awsaja is alive. Muslim tells Habib, I am very saddened that you are dying before me. Your loss is a great loss. But the only condolence I have for you is you are going to Jannah before me. Basharakallahu bil khair. May Allah bless you. Habib responds. So Muslim bin Awsaja tells me, I know it is a bit late, but it is the sunnah of a Muslim that at the time of death you ask for wasiyah. Can I do anything for you? أحببت أن توصي بكل ما أهمك. Tell me, whatever is there in your heart, if there's anything I can do for you, give me your wasiyah. Habib looks at Muslim and then he looks at Imam Hussein alayhi salam and he says, Inni usika bihada. My wasiyah is him. Imam Hussein alayhi salam, فَقَاتِلْ دُونَهُ حَتَّى تَمُوتْ. Muslim, you must fight and die before anything happens to Imam Hussein alayhi salam. Muslim obviously fulfills that pledge and promise. Imam Hussein alayhi salam is also grieving at this great loss of this eminent companion. Rahimakallah. May Allah bless you. Ahtasibu nafsi wa humata ashabi. This loss and this grief and this pain I will bear and I will take with me before God, and I will ask God to avenge this dhulm and this blood that has been spilled. Assalamu ala al-Husayn wa ala Ali ibn al-Husayn wa ala awlad al-Husayn wa ala ashab al-Husayn. Ya Husayn.